This has to be the ultimate case of wrong place, wrong time. An Uber Eats delivery guy working in Portland went down the wrong street and ended up right in the middle of a clash between protesters there and police.
Riding his bicycle, apparently making a delivery.
Yeah.
Wow.
He got taken down, and watch how the police ended up handling this situation just with him. I mean, rough. They hog-tied the guy. Now, and you could hear him just begging to say, look, I'm just trying to ride through him and try and make a delivery.
Well, and also, Charles, he was screaming, I'm an Uber delivery guy. And then there was a woman on the side screaming it as well. So it's like, this is not one size fits all. And why the cops lunged at him, I mean, you know, maybe they're dealing with a lot of stuff, but at a point when you hear, hey, I'm an Uber delivery guy, and you hear other people screaming it,
right?
They did not back off him. Yeah. They did not back off him.
And guys, it's not like he crossed a police line or anything like that. You can see at the beginning of the video, these officers come up on a vehicle from behind him, and he kind of turns his head to look. So it's not like he was passing any line or anything. They just went at him.
Yeah, this is
you got to think, it is a rough time if you're if you're out there working and trying to get around Portland, certain parts of Portland, obviously where the protests are going on. It's dangerous, man.
It's really dangerous.
Hey, Jordan folks calling here from Brooklyn. So, I mean, we've seen this time and time again, unfortunately. And as an unfortunate correlation, you know, the lives of Ahmaud Arbery, who died earlier this year in Georgia, and Breonna Taylor, who died, as we all know. We've seen innocent men and women lose their lives at the hand of those who are supposed to defend and protect us. So this is just a never-ending story, it seems.
Yeah, no, this is really bad. Just the idea that they got to listen in addition to act.
Kris Jenner and Kourtney Kardashian both sued by a former security guard who is claiming that he was the victim of a lot of unwanted sexual advances, particularly from Kris.
Well, not by. Just so you know, he's not alleging that against Kourtney. He's got a million things he's alleging about being fired and everything else, and he's saying that she was part of the firing, but not part of the other.
Kourtney was part of the firing. Kris, he claims, was the one making the sexual advances, which he details in this lawsuit that he's filed. And it is such a vivid account. You'd go like, wow, that's so specific. And maybe you think that it really happened, but look, we don't know. But Kris Jenner's side of this is,
well, we should say that the allegations are that Kris supposedly, you know, made overtures to him, that she kind of was grinding on him, things like that. She is saying, and inside the house, she is saying, A, he never came inside the house, and this is from her lawyer, Marty Singer. A, never came inside, almost never came inside the house. B, that the guy was sleeping on the job, I believe they said in his car, and that eventually they just called the security company he worked for and said, can you reassign this guy? He apparently ended up getting fired, at least that's what they're claiming, and he's suing for wrongful termination, racial discrimination, all this stuff. She is saying not only is it BS, but they're going to sue him, they say, when they win this case.
You know, it's the first one of these cases that I can recall where we have a very famous woman who's being accused by one of her employees for doing sexually wrong things. The reaction to it should always be to, you know, believe the person. I guess you're innocent until proven guilty. But it's an interesting case. It shines a different light on it when it's a woman being accused. But the allegations are not very different than what we've heard in a lot of different cases of allegations being against men.
Hi, I'm Robin O'Kerrickey. I'm calling from Galveston. And just, I guess, my words. So, like, when I was younger, I watched the Kardashians for years. And I feel like the reason a lot of people tuned in is because they did a lot of things that would be considered like blasphemous or like a no-no to the average family, like hypersexuality and like defying authority. and it's like casual to them. So I feel like they act this way like towards people that they're comfortable with. And I guess this guy working there since like 2017, they got comfortable with him and either just treated him normally and maybe like overstepped some boundaries. And I just feel like guys should be listened to, masculine men should be listened to and taken seriously when talking about sexual assault. So
yeah, and again, we have no idea. You don't, we don't, because we weren't part of this thing. And this is where it plays out in the courts. And, you know, this is the problem right now, is that people make judgments way too early. Welcome to TMZ Live, Harvey Levin here.
Charles here.
So I'm going to be an outlier for starters. I've been watching some of the news shows this morning and last night that were, you know, depending on which side the channel leans to, they were declaring one candidate or the other as the winner. I thought that was insane. I thought, did you see the same debate I saw? Because nobody won this debate. Yeah. Nobody won this debate. This was what could be a death blow to the way presidential elections are run.
I honestly,
it's embarrassing.
Watching it, I felt like, if anything, the debate created more undecided voters, because maybe people who had decided were like, well, wait a second, is that the guy I want to like?
100%, Charles. And you know, and it's like, look, I just want to say this out. First of all, I think these debates are ridiculous because, you know, for a long time, all they've been about are zingers that the media could pick up on, you know, like blood in the water for a shark. And that's not the way to pick a president. But this went so far beyond that. It was like high school. And, you know, if I could summarize it in one way, I think Biden was right that Trump acted like a clown, but he shouldn't have called him that.
Right.
He should not have called him that. And, you know, it's just, there was nothing about this debate that made you like either person more. And isn't that the point?
Yes, but for me, the standout moment.
Well, me too.
To me, the standout moment says a lot about who you are ultimately going to vote for. And I want to say, as much of a turnoff as it was, I still think it is very important that everybody vote.
Well, Charles, I will tell you, we're going to play this for you, but I had a bike accident earlier in the summer, and I haven't run yet. When I heard Donald Trump say this, I ran for the first time to my computer to get this up on the site because I couldn't believe what he said. This was it, and I'm sure you've heard it by now.
Are you willing tonight to condemn white supremacists and militia groups?
I would say almost everything I see is from the left wing, not from the right wing.
So what are you saying?
I'm willing to do anything. I want to see peace.
Then do it, sir.
Say it. Do it. Say it. Do you want to call him? What do you want to call them? Give me a name. Give me a
white
name.
Supremacists and
would you like me to condemn?
White supremacists and right
Proud Boys, stand back and stand by. But I'll tell you what. Somebody's got to do something about Antifa and the left.
Stand back and stand by. Stand by for what? In case Trump loses? Is that what he's saying? That isn't a dog whistle. That's just a whistle.
Look, and Harvey, we discussed this. We discussed it last night. We discussed it this morning. For me, as a black person watching that, to see the elected president of the United States of America refuse to say that to denounce white supremacy was a startling and terrifying thing to see. What was the point of saying, give me a name, what do you want to call it? He'd already told you what to call it. It's white supremacy. You know what it is.
Yeah.
Why can't you say the words white supremacy or white supremacist groups? Why can't you say those words?
Because he never has. So, I mean, look, we want to bring somebody in. I have known him for a long, long time. Bob Shrum has been a Democrat stalwart in the party. He has done so much over the years in terms of supporting candidates, strategizing with candidates. He is one of the best strategists in the business. And Bob joins us right now. And he's, by the way, a professor over at USC. And he is joining us right now. We're so happy to have him. Bob, welcome to TMZ Live.
Thank you.
So, Bob, you and I actually did a show last night, and my feeling about it was that nobody won this debate. And I know you are one of the top guys in the Democratic Party, so I know you have a dog in the fight, but I'm just curious your view of it.
Well, I think Biden won the debate in part because Trump lost it so badly. Trump has to get back suburban women, college-educated white women, and people of, at least some people of color, if he's going to close the gap with Biden. And the way he conducted himself, the way he interrupted, the brutality with which he dealt, for example, with Beau Biden by immediately turning to attack the vice president's other son, the way he refused to condemn the Proud Boys and said, you know, stand back and stand by, which is truly frightening, is going to help him with none of those groups. Secondly, he engaged in a volcanic eruption of falsehoods, and he's being called out on it. And finally, one thing that Biden did do was he didn't go back at Trump every single time. He looked into that camera and he spoke empathetically about the problems facing the American people. So I think that most people thought Biden won. The instant polls have Biden winning more than 2-1, 60-28. That means even a lot of people in Trump's base didn't think he won. So I think it was a good night for Biden, but it was a bad night for American democracy. You know, somebody once said that everything Trump touches dies. Well, maybe he killed presidential debates last night.
Interesting. You know, Bob, one of the moments that I thought at least played on television like a victory for Trump was when he brought up the endorsements of law enforcement, and that he sort of cornered Biden and said, tell me who's supporting you. And Biden didn't say anything. I think that played like that there are no people in law. Now, and by the way, it has since come out that Trump, the Portland sheriff that he claimed was supporting him, has come out and said, not so, I never supported it. But at least at that moment, it played badly for Biden, I thought.
Yeah, I thought that was the one decent moment Trump had in the debate. But overall, in terms of dealing with the racial divisions in the country, dealing with law and order, I thought that Biden won that overwhelmingly when he said, look, you pour gasoline on the fire. One of your top advisors said all the chaos helps you. I think undecided voters, there aren't very many of them. And the people who have moved from Trump in 2016 to Biden in 2020 really care about this racial division and really would like to see the nation at peace again. And when you looked at Trump, you thought he can't possibly be a peacemaker. So I think you're right about the line, but about that issue overall, I don't think Trump did very well.
Bob, the ratings came out this morning, the preliminary ratings, and the numbers will probably go up some, but I was shocked that way down from 2016. If there wasn't interest in watching this debate, does that concern you in terms of people getting out to vote?
No, I think what that reflects is that people have already made up their minds. In our USC Dornsife polling, the race has been remarkably stable now for over a month. Biden leading between 8 and 10 points. It just sits there. It doesn't move no matter what happens. And every day that Donald Trump doesn't gain is a wasted day for him. And right now he has very few days left. And I think we are pretty confident that what they're telling us, what the voters are telling us, accurately reflects what they intend to do. You know, 4 years ago, Trump kept quoting our poll because it said that he had a chance to win the election. He's not quoting it now.
Bob, Trump was acting crazy. I mean, I think there's very few people would argue that. But that said, some of Biden's responses, you know, telling him he was a clown, telling him to shut up. Biden has said in the past, you know, I respect the office, not the man. But doesn't that bleed into the office when that happens?
I don't think so. I think when he said, shut up, man, he was speaking for the whole country. I have never seen a presidential candidate.
Not the whole country. I mean,
no, well,
we know that
I think he was speaking for a large part of the television audience that watched this debate, which the CNN instant poll thinks that reports that Biden won 60% to 28%. So I think he was speaking for a plurality majority of the country. And I think it was called for because of the way that Trump was acting. Look, you can go through these debates, and Biden would have been very happy to go through it, obeying the rules, 2 minutes, time limits, no interruptions. So what he did when And I think it was a conscious strategy on Trump's part to come in there and create a dumpster fire on steroids and to try to make it impossible for Biden to talk. So what Biden did was he went back pretty tough a number of times, but a lot of the time he just didn't go back. And what he did was look into the camera and talk to people about COVID, talk to people about the economy, talk to people about racial division, talk to people about the things that really matter in their lives. The most frightening thing, by the way, in the debate, aside from the Proud Boys comment for me, was the president basically saying that he wasn't necessarily going to accept the results of the election.
Yeah.
Well, that's a drum he keeps beating. And in a way is an intimidation. It's a lot of scary things that came out of that last night, which is, you know, I think you're right about people not watching. They've already decided which way they're going. So,
Bob, we're so honored to have you on. You just have such great context for things, and we really, really appreciate the time.
Happy to be here, and do it anytime you want, Harvey. Take care.
Welcome back to TMZ Live. And as we discussed earlier, I mean, the moment last night of the debate, if you want to call it that, certainly that Proud Boys moment with the white supremacy question to President Trump. And I guess the thing that we have to look at now going forward, especially the response that we've seen from the organization, the Proud Boys, what does this mean for the election? And I don't mean who you're going to vote for, but what does it mean going forward as far as safety? It's hard to take what the president said other than whether he intended it this way. The Proud Boys certainly took it as a call to arms. And
Charles,
that's
come on, don't give him the benefit of the doubt on this. When he said stand by, that was a call to arms of some fashion. I mean, it was. Now,
and
what we got to figure out
is the organization is known for, you know, creating violence in the streets, right? So what does that mean when you go to the polls? It is a question that we unfortunately have to address. And joining us now to talk about that and a lot of other things that he is addressing about a lot of the issues facing America right now in a new book is the Reverend Al Sharpton. Reverend Al, welcome back to TMZ Live. It's good to see you.
Good seeing you.
So, Reverend, there was more than an intimation that the polling places may not be the most serene places on November 3rd. And, you know, especially with what Trump said about Proud Boys, are you concerned that people are going to be afraid to go out and vote?
I am very concerned. When you have the President of the United States in a debate, the first debate of his reelection, stand up in front of tens of millions of people and first refuse to denounce white supremacy, refuse to denounce a hate group. He says, who are you talking about? When it is identified by a Fox News anchorman now, this is not a liberal, saying Proud Boys, and he says, stand back, stand by. And then in the same debate, when he's asked, would he tell his supporters to not go to the streets and do anything if, in fact, the election was not decided the night of the election day. You can't look at that any way, shape, or form other than he is refusing to tell people don't go to the street, and he's telling a known supremacist militia group be on standby. There's no reason to try and mince words here because he didn't. And if I'm being confused, the Proud Boys came out on social media and saluted it, accepted it, took it as a mandate. And we have not seen the Twitter-in-chief, Donald Trump, say, no, I didn't mean that. No, I denounce you guys. No, what are you talking about? He has said nothing because he knows that he did exactly what the Proud Boys have received him saying.
Al, when he said stand back and stand by, that felt very intentional to me. It almost was like he was locked and loaded with that. And if this is his plan, and then when you look at what happened with the preliminary ratings, they are way down. I thought everybody in America would watch this thing. They were significantly down from the Trump-Clinton debate in 2016. I'm wondering, are people not as committed to this election because they're just disgusted with everything more so than the media thinks?
I think that that's the fear that I have. is that people's disgust will mean they will not come out and vote. And I would hope that the disgust that they feel would motivate them to come out and vote and say, we cannot have this country go in this direction and go in this direction being guided by the head of state. I think this is more reason to vote. But it's almost like Donald Trump came to the public eye with all of this bluster and as a showman. And I think a lot of people are just tired of the show, even those that had supported him. You can't have a bad act, but so many times. You know, you go to a concert, the guy can't sing, and it's a comedy act, and you like laughing at the guy on the stage that really can't perform. But how many times are you going to buy a ticket to see somebody who's a bad artist, a bad actor? And I think that people are tired of the Trump show. But I think that they must realize if they don't come out and vote, we're going to be stuck with that. And he has no problem destroying the very tenets of what this society was built on.
I like the metaphor.
Reverend, I got to give you kudos for timing.
Yeah, I was going to say that too.
Because you have a new book that you just put out. I'm wondering, you knew the date of the debates, so I'm just curious if you timed it that way purposely. The book is Rise Up, Confronting a Country at the Crossroads. It's the perfect title after what we saw last night.
You know, I started writing the book earlier in the year when I said that I saw all of the voter suppression, purging of voters, 300,000 purged in Georgia, moving voting sites. And I was coming out with it early summer. And then George Floyd happened, and I became very involved in that, did the eulogies, and I told the publisher, wait a minute, I want to include George Floyd. Then we started dealing with the case of Ahmaud Arbery and then Breonna Taylor, and the cases kept coming, and I kept moving the date back. Finally, as we began organizing the big march on Washington, I said, I wanted to come out, we've got to go, and we set this date. I did not even know that it would go on sale the same day of the first debate. So I wish I could take credit for it, but I will say that Donald Trump gave me the perfect contrast, because now I'm saying that you can either let the bigots stand by or you can rise up with me. It's a perfect match. Stand by or rise up. I say rise up because they're standing by.
And with that, a good end. Reverend, we love having you on. Thank you so much. Really appreciate the time. And congratulations on the book.
Harvey. Thank you.